I think that any convening of a multinational, multi-talented group like this to talk about the significant, salient issues of our time is important. We have representatives from many different countries. First of all, something incredibly valued beyond just the content is the networking and the people meeting each other and talking to each other and the connections that will go and follow afterwards. That's huge. And many here are think tankers, academics, former government, in government, and they will write, they will speak, and in that way they are influencers to their government. We need to every so often have something like this to kind of review what we know and what we used to know. And you have a lot of individuals that have been in this world for a number of years, and they provide the older ones context for the more contemporary assessments. So I'm here soaking it in, I'm getting different perspectives. I get asked for mine, and I provide that, probably not always correct. And this is the time for that. We're at a time in our world now that we so vitally need interaction between friends and allies. Again, less Putin's war and increasingly Russia's war in Ukraine. I was in Bucha in May. Bucha, Irpin, Hostomel. It's one thing to read about it, and I've been to Ukraine a number of times, but never in war. And you go there, and it hits you like a brick to the head. It's moving, the destruction, the poignant symbols of families that used to be there, the memorials, the graves. And then you get in your car and you go back towards Kyiv, and you say, oh my God, how close the Russians got to Kyiv. How close this was. Burned out Russian tanks, burned out hundreds of burned out Ukrainian vehicles, civilian vehicles. And it's one thing to read about it and see it in team. It's another being there and talking to locals. Makes you boil that in this day and age, when we know the lessons of World War II and other places in Europe, the Ukrainians were able to pull it together. They had Volodymyr Zelensky stay in the capital, which was heroic, and it completely motivated, I think, the Ukrainian people who were going to fight anyway. And then you had instances of individual initiative and heroism on the ground, and here we are 2 years later, and it's still going. So this was a very important visit. The Ukrainians were getting ready, talking about the counteroffensive and weapons and all of that, and there was this sort of careful optimism. The Ukrainians had a remarkable run of success in 2022 and up to that time, and I think it's going to be hard and it's going to be a grind. I believe that we will ultimately support them. It was great being here at your conference and see the clip on the Georgia Legion, so a little bit like the international brigades in Spain. There are a lot, so I'm being hit with a lot of feelings and emotions. Your conference is bringing it out, and then you're talking to people who were here in 2008 and felt the Russian boot, and then kicked the boot back. I know, and I was in beautiful Abkhazia in 1991 when I drove down from the Kafkaz, and they're here, but you're not alone. And that's maybe part of this conference, is that you get a sense that Georgia is geographically a very difficult place, but you're not alone. You're not alone. And I think that was also important. You expose people that hear about it intellectually, but you come here and you feel it. I think that you're doing the right thing right now, in part the near-term future of Ukraine in regards to Russia will be determined on the battlefields of Ukraine. And the Russians are still completely focused, their military, their efforts, and they're having to rebuild their military because of what the Ukrainians did to them. And as long as there is a strong resistance and we support them, then I think that takes the pressure off of other countries that the Russians will want to call their privileged sphere, but it's not. You're a free-minded, independent nation, sovereign, and Russia, all Russia talks about is sovereignty. It's just smart, keep strong relations with the West, the United States, and we do things militarily, but at the same time, don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear. You have a vibrant, I know it's like my country, I'll say this way, your politics are dynamic, as in my country, the United States, but you're going to work through that because at heart you're a free-minded democratic nation. We all have flaws, and you're not alone, and that's what I think that this conference kind of brings out. There are a lot of people and influential people that are not Georgians that really care for Georgia.